Okay, so I know this is a little late, and I was kind of caught up with a few things, so I apologize for the lateness of these reviews, this and the TMNT review. So this is going to be my review of the Season 8, Episode 8, Series 8, Episode 8 of Doctor Who. Now it pretty much starts out with a creature only known as the Foretold, which looks like a mummy killing an old woman, and then we cut to Clara and the Doctor showing up on the Orient Express in space, and it's pretty much their last hurrah. The Doctor and Clara are going to be parting ways after this outing, or so we're led to believe. Now the thing is that what I really like about this episode, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was pretty good. The thing about with this episode is that it feels a lot like a Tom Baker episode. What you could have done is, because the space thing is just there to have the computer and all that, and again, it almost feels, this was written by Jamie Matheson, who, I think he's a relatively new, he's one of the new writers for Doctor Who, and if Flatline is just as good, I would say keep him on for Series 9. Because this was a really good episode, and again, if it kind of has a Moffat feel of kind of taking, those weird ideas and taking something scary, something you can only see when you're about to die. It does feel like a good Stephen Moffat script. It really does. But yeah, you could honestly take if it wasn't for the sci-fi elements, you could honestly make this the regular Orient Express in the 1920s and set it on the train and not in space. And this would have been a straight-up, Tom Baker episode with Tom Baker as the Doctor and Leela instead of Clara. That's the whole thing. And I'm not just saying that because the Doctor there's jelly babies involved in this episode. I kind of squeed a bit when I saw the jelly babies. But no, this does feel like something you would see in a Tom Baker story. At least the whole mummy, the whole horror aspect, and where it's kind of set. Also, I'm a little because I'm going to say this: the mummy has nothing to do with Sutekh or the Osirans, and I was kind of hoping for that. And I know my buddy Zazuvar is a little upset about that too, because he's a big fan of the episode Pyramids of Mars, and I am too. And they had nothing to do with Sutekh or anything. I was like, oh. I wanted that. Oh well, it's still a good episode. So like I said, it's pretty much... so getting back to the episode itself, so Clara and the Doctor are having one less outing on this thing, and then they discover the whole... someone has died before they before they came here, and there's a string of deaths. What I like about this episode, what I found interesting was the whole thing... This is why this all clearly shows, the Doctor's been a dick for a while, and it's time he starts acting a little heroic. That's the whole underlying thing right here, because the Doctor does some... If you thought what he did in Kill the Moon was a dick move, he does a lot worse in here. He does a hell of a lot worse in this episode. But, I'll get to that. So, the Doctor and Clara have their own separate adventures while trying to investigate this mystery. We have Clara meeting Macy, who is the granddaughter of the victim of the first one, the granddaughter of the first victim, and we have the Doctor teaming up with a new supporting character, Perkins. Well, Perkins in the sense that he's a supporting character for this episode, kind of like with Sai and Sabra from Time Heist. I was kind of like, I would like to see Perkins show up again. He's the Orient Express's chief engineer, and he's been investigating these deaths by himself. He's been kind of curious about what's going on, and he comes across the Doctor. What I like about the character of Perkins is that he's a little smart-mouthed to the Doctor. He's very quick-witted, and I like how he kind of plays off the Doctor, and how he kind of teams up with another character in here that we see, Professor Morehouse. And this does feel like a very good mystery as well, of trying to explain what the Foretold is. And I really liked... Morehouse was the conversation between the Doctor and Morehouse was really interesting. I can't help but think, his name is apparently Robert Morehouse. And if you've ever watched the show Copper on BBC, I'm like, are you a great grandson of Robert Morehouse from Copper? I can't help but put those two together. But I thought it was really cool how the Doctor's trying to analyze what the Foretold is and why it's a mummy and why it's coming after certain people. What I also liked is that whole when the clock starts and you start seeing like the countdown from 66 seconds. That just gives you another aura of like anticipation and fear. Like you're just fearing, something bad's gonna happen when that clock strikes 0. And I really like that because again that kept me on the edge of my seat of watching the clock wind down as the Foretold keeps coming after them, after its victims again and again. Also, another thing, the quote unquote other villain of the episode, Gus, the Orient Express's computer system. Did anyone else get reminded of like Fallout and BioShock? Did anyone else get that feeling of Fallout and BioShock? How he has the thumbs up, thumbs down kind of thing, and I'm like, damn it, I need does anyone have a hack device on them? Because again, it does feel like that thing Gus, the computer, and how it talks like I'm sorry, and that was most distressing and all that, and it talks. It feels like something out of BioShock or Fallout 3. It really does. Like I can't be the only one who didn't notice that. Who didn't think, I feel like I've seen this thing before. But no. It was really cool how the Doctor eventually puts it all together. Also, another side note about the Doctor's attire. I love the big bow tie, the bow tie he has, the ribbon bow tie he has. It's so reminiscent of Colin Baker. Which, by the way, I think I've figured out what Dr. Capaldi really feels like he's really emanating from. Not so much Jon Pertwee, although you do see a bit of Jon Pertwee in there. I think he's more like a well-dressed Colin Baker. Yeah, that actually sums up pretty well. He does feel more like a well-dressed Colin Baker. But, anyway, so, like I said, there's 2 separate mini-adventures going on between Clara and the Doctor, with Clara and Macy, who have this conversation about, the Doctor, if she wants to stay with the Doctor or not, and the Doctor trying to investigate what exactly the Foretold is. What I also like in this episode, that someone finally does a background check on the Doctor after they get shown the psychic paper. I'm like, because that brought up something I was like, that never has happened, has it? Because wouldn't it make sense if someone was in charge and then suddenly, whoop, here I am, psychic paper. You think someone would run a background check? I'm surprised no one's done that yet. Like, up until now, no one else, at least to my knowledge, I don't think anyone else has done that since the 2005, since its revival in 2005. I don't think anyone's done that since its revival and the use of the psychic paper. No one's gone to do a background check on the Doctor after he flips out the psychic paper. So I think this is a first. And again, that made me think, why haven't they done that yet? You'd think that would happen more often. I don't know. But all the characters are very sympathetic, from the head of the head of security. I think that's what he was. The professor, Professor Morehouse, and even Perkins. Everyone is very. You feel really bad for these people and when they're going to die, because the Doctor's like, yeah, I can't save you, but you'll help us save the rest of everyone else. I think also I've figured out. Another thing is that I've kind of figured out why the Doctor's such, for lack of a better word, a dick sometimes. It's more or less because the Doctor's so old. He's over 2,000 years old, and like he said, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I think if this was Tennant's Doctor, if this was a David Tennant episode, David Tennant would be angry and violent, getting angry at the fact that he can't save everyone, because that's him. Whereas Capaldi's Doctor, he's gone through a lot in that time period, from Tennant to Smith to now him. He's gone through a lot, and now he's very old. He's running out of patience, and he's very much worn out. This is a Doctor who's very worn out. He's just like, well, I can't. I've come to the conclusion I cannot save everyone, so I'm going to save as much as I can. And that's really what he's become. Really, is just a more. And this is the first time he's become more heroic when he saves Macy from the Foretold, and uses how he kind of figures out what exactly the Foretold is really cool. I really liked how he pieced it all together in the end. So, further on from that, we have, after everything that happens in this episode, because again, there's a lot in the whole mystery behind it, of finding out the Foretold is really a centuries-old soldier, just kept alive through a lot of mechanics and how it exactly works. It does feel like classic Stephen Moffat before he got predictable. It does feel like something Moffat would write, and how exactly he would explain the Foretold. So, from that, we have Clara and the Doctor reconnect, and everything. I guess everything's hunky dory. So, yeah, once again, really enjoyed this episode. It had a lot of great, not so much scares, but more like just this anticipation of dread. And again, it does feel very reminiscent of a Tom Baker episode. We also have something building up even bigger because apparently, the computer Gus was working for somebody else. That's probably Missy, but it could be another unknown factor we don't know yet. And I really am interested in seeing the next episode from Matheson, Flatline, which is coming up next, because that one, from watching the previews, I'm like, wow, I am really curious to see where you're going to go with this, because, again, that feels like a very Stephen Moffat thing. But, yeah, after watching this episode, I'm like, yeah, I want to see more Matheson. Yeah, let's do it. So, all in all, I know this was a short review, but there wasn't a lot I could really go with here. It's a very good mystery story. I didn't want to make this a long review either, that's the other thing. But this is a very good mystery story. I think this has a lot of great elements in here, and it's the first time we see Capaldi... Well, the first time Capaldi's doctor finally is like, yeah, I think it's time I need to be a hero again. And it's really cool to see that kind of character evolution happen. So, all in all, really enjoyed this after, Kill the Moon really killed the mood. I'm sorry, that was a terrible pun. I'll go stand in the corner now. But, yeah, this was a nice way to bounce back from that. Anyway, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and you guys tell me, what did you guys think of Mummy on the Orient Express? Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Comment below and let me know. And once again, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, this review.